Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Anaheim, California, the Anaheim Stadium for one of the most incredible U.S. Hot Rod Association Championship events ever held. This is the U.S. Hot Rod Association Grand Slam of Motorsports. I'm Brett Kepner, and along with Shelley Herbert, we'll be presenting the quickest and fastest mud racers in the world, the U.S. Hot Rod Association categories of mud racing machines, including 4 different classes this time, from stock street legal machines all the way up to a special supercharged only category, Shelley.
There are some awesome machines over there, and they're looking real good.
And included in that lineup of awesome machines is the defending champion. And you regular viewers might remember that this event last year was taken by a lady racer in the supercharged class, and she's back in competition this year. Likewise, we'll get a chance to see one of the wildest monster truck versus monster tank battles ever in side-by-side competition.
And this is a little different than we've seen before. They've actually changed the rules a little bit here.
It's true, a little bit of precision driving as well as all-out horsepower battles in the monster truck and monster tank ranks. And we'll get a chance to see some of the most incredible pulling exhibition vehicles ever.
This is the finest assembly puller trucks you're going to see anywhere.
It's all coming up in just a moment when we come back for the start of action here at Anaheim, California for the U.S. Hot Rod Association Grand Slam of Motorsports. We're back, ladies and gentlemen, to the U.S. Hot Rod Association Grand Slam of Motorsports. Brett Kepner and Shelley Herman, and we're ready to bring you Championship U.S. Hot Rod Association Monster Truck Racing. And Shelley, this particular course is going to be mighty interesting. A lot of cars to crush, a lot of turns to make, and indeed, they're going to have to actually park these things while jumping on the last set of cars.
I don't see how they could possibly do that. For some people, they're experienced pros here, but for the example, one of the drivers here, it's his first time he's ever driven the car tonight.
That's true. We have some brand new pieces of equipment on the U.S. Hot Rod Association trail to show you. And like I said, the very last set of cars these machines hit in this side-by-side competition, they must get airborne, land on top of the cars, and they cannot touch the ground or they will be disqualified. The first pair in this round-robin elimination-style program will feature the near lane, aimed one way as opposed to his opponent. It's Jim Reese, one of his first times in the U.S. Hot Rod Association trail with the Chevrolet, sponsored by AMPM Mini Marts, the AMPM Boss, a supercharged big block Chevrolet power plant in that 18,000-pound piece of Chevrolet. His opponent, however, in the bright red Jeep that you see down there in the starting line, is longtime U.S. Hot Rod Association standout Jeff Boehner. A Boehner's Jeep, called Hot Stuff, has one of the shortest wheelbases of any monster truck in the world. Although it's not real heavy, only about 12,000 pounds, it can get airborne with the best of them, Shelley.
Well, he's really into this. I talked to them yesterday, he and Debbie, his co-driver, and they said that they're getting another truck ready, and hopefully we'll be seeing that pretty soon.
May indeed see a new Hot Stuff Jeep. They leave the starting line on the single from the starter, and now they hit the first set of cars. Boehner sideways on his cars. The AMPM Boss Chevrolet doing a fine job of landing. Now they will head to the other end of Anaheim Stadium as they have prepared to crisscross, hitting 2 different sets of crushed cars. Boehner over the cars first. He gets airborne. The AMPM Boss Chevrolet now lands, and now they head for those final cars in which they must hit and land squarely on top of. Here's Boehner in the Yakima, Washington Jeep. He's airborne. He lands, and he's in good shape. But no, the tires are on the ground for the little Jeep from Yakima, Washington. The AMPM Boss will take the win. He lands squarely on the cars. Jim Reese, a great job in the Chevy. Poor Jeff Boehner is sitting there with the far side wheels on the ground.
2 wheels off, 2 wheels on. Not good enough for a win.
You know, originally I thought he had landed nicely on the cars, but as you can see, the right side tires are on the ground. I'll tell you, our event director, Ken Donay, set this unique format up. The drivers thought he was crazy. Nobody ever had to do anything like this before. It looks like the AMPM Boss must have broken something pretty seriously in the front end. You can see the front end cocked. And looking at his replay of the very first hit that Reese made, he was plenty airborne, landing in the middle of the cars. And then a rather unusual little bounce at the end. The front end comes up, and then all four wheels are actually off the ground as he makes the turn for that crisscross jump. Baintner's first hit was nice. He landed square in the center of the cars, but it was his last jump where he was supposed to land on the cars that really got out of control. Way up in the air. You can see the right front and then the right rear coming down on the ground, but he'll advance anyway. Well, Shelley, with Jeff Baintner and the Hot Stuff Chief back in the program because of that problem with Jim Reese's Chevrolet, this is a match the crowd really wants to see.
And they were on their feet the minute Bigfoot hit the stadium.
This is Jim Kramer, the #1 driver on Bob Chandler's Bigfoot four-wheel drive truck team. One of the last times we'll see one of the heavyweight original Bigfoot Fords coming out because, as you well know, Shelley, Jim Kramer and Bob Chandler have been working on a lightweight race truck that they say will be the racer to end them all.
Boy, they still give people a run for their money in this one, too.
That's true. Kramer is by far one of the best four-wheel drive drivers we've ever seen. He's also one of the wildest, not afraid to take risks. In fact, one of the new drivers we'll be seeing later on in this competition reminded us an awful lot of a young Jim Kramer. So Jeff Baintner, the Hot Stuff Jeep in the near lane. Of course, the dreaded Bigfoot Ford, 15,000 pounds of the toughest monster truck ever built, will go at it here in the four-wheel drive portion of this battle of monsters. Remember, we still have the tanks to determine their champion.
There they go.
On the green flag, they move up. Kramer, unbelievable landing scene thing for Jeff Baintner. These guys are going for blood with a lot of smoke coming out of Bigfoot. Jim Kramer may have problems as he hits the second set of cars. The truck almost enveloped in a fog bank. Now Baintner and the Hot Stuff Jeep tries to make it around to the last set of cars before Kramer. Kramer can't steer Bigfoot, and Jeff Baintner drops a tire on the ground for a second, but he lands on the cars. We have just seen one of the biggest upsets imaginable as Jim Kramer jumps out of Bigfoot. Listen to the crowd cheering Jeff Baintner for the victory. Jim Kramer still out of Bigfoot, checking things out, trying to figure out why the steering went away. You can see the puddle of fluid underneath the front end that indicates the hydraulic steering system has definitely gone south for the winner. Damage occurred on the very first hit in one of the most incredible leaps we've seen a Bigfoot take. The landing so rough, it was bound to create mechanical problems. He may have lost his beard this year, but he hasn't lost any of the nerve that got him a spot in the #1 position in Bob Chandler's Bigfoot team. And Jim, that was one of the first times we've seen the old standard Bigfoot four-wheel drive break anything.
It was kind of unfortunate. It took a very hard hit off that jump, and the right tire came up and knocked the bottom of the power steering filter off, and of course I lost the steering and had to quit.
Well, the machine was way out of shape in the middle of the air. In fact, if we can take a look at the footage, you can get a chance to see exactly what was going on in the machine.
All right, I had a real good start. I knew I had a long track. I knew I had a long way to go. I had about 130 more feet to run, and Jeff's running hard, so I was kind of putting it to her. We got sideways. Came down, noticed the front end, watched this right tire. Got back up in the firewall, actually came up halfway up the firewall, hit the power steering filter. I'm surprised the tire's still on. Anyway, the truck came down, landed good, felt good, made the corner, hit the next set of cars, and that's when she went away on me.
Well, the amount of smoke coming out from underneath it, it gave you a pretty good indication of what was wrong. Did you know it was the power steering pump immediately, though?
It could have been some engine oil with the smoke or the steering. No, the steering was functioning fine until it pumped all the oil out of the reservoir. And then, of course, I lost the steering.
Well, of course, your boss man, Bob Chandler, is still in the program, but we wish you the best of luck with your next attempt.
Well, I'll probably raise my power steering unit up probably about another foot, and maybe that won't happen again. I'll stay in the race.
Good luck to you.
Thank you.
So Jeff Baintner goes to the final round with Hot Stuff. He will take on the winner of the Tank Monsters when we come back to Anaheim Stadium in Anaheim, California for more action from the U.S. Hot Rod Association Grand Slam. And now, the new tank machines will go at it, and the winner of the tank round-robin battle will take on Jeff Baintner in the Hot Stuff Jeep four-wheeler. In the near lane, it's the California Gold Chevrolet of Phil Thompson behind the wheel. Arlen Smith, his co-owner, will take on the incredible new Track Attack from North Dakota, believe it or not. This is the first tank truck built like Bob Chandler's new Bigfoot Fast Tracks with a full suspension. And I gotta tell you, one of the wildest we've ever seen. Airborne in the new narrow-body Chevrolet Track Attack as the California Gold machine has problems over the first set of cars. Moving up to the second set of crush cars, the Track Attack again again airborne, but hard landing with a lot of smoke out of the cockpit. May spell problems for the new North Dakota tank. Whizzing around with the cockpit completely socked in with smoke. The truck attack lands on the last set of cars as the California Gold Chevy of Phil Tonseth breaks over the second set of crush cars. But look at the smoke billowing from the interior of the track attack. There you see the broken California Gold Chevrolet. Look at the smoke pouring out of the cockpit of the North Dakota snowmobile.
Safety crew is racing over there just to make sure everything's all right.
Tremendous amount of smoke for the North Dakota track attack fully suspended tank with Chevrolet power. It'll be interesting to see if he can make it back around for the tank battle final, as indeed his win will put him in that particular position. Well, Ernie Brookins hits the second set of cars, but the smoke was already billowing out of the windows in midair. So that meant the problem that occurred happened long before he actually made that hit. What's really amazing is that Brookins could see where he was going to land on that last set of cars. The cockpit completely full of smoke. He makes the last hit, gets plenty of air, and manages to hit the brakes to land squarely on the last set. Shelley Herman, this looks like the battle that the crowd has waited to see. Bob Chandler's Bigfoot Fast Track's fully suspended tank against this incredible piece of equipment.
Well, Bob himself is actually driving the Bigfoot Fast Tracks, and in Orange Blossom Express, we have a quite unusual design here. It's so unusual, in fact, that when they were testing it out a little earlier, they had to actually let some of the air out of the seat so that the driver wouldn't hit his head.
That's right. This is Alan Gaines, the man behind the long line of Orange Blossom Special pulling machines. One of the first drivers ever to debut a two-wheel drive, wheel-standing exhibition puller on the U.S. Off-Road Association trail way back in the mid-1970s. He, of course, advanced to the machine that we saw earlier today, the Midnight Express, twin-engine 1925 Ford puller. But this new locomotive is beyond belief. An actual M4 Army personnel carrier tank chassis with a real live locomotive body. That is not a scaled down model. It is an honest to goodness train body.
Well, I think he's going to do more than chug along today. He's really got his work cut out for him.
Big block Chevrolet motivation in the train, the Orange Blossom Special. But Bob Chandler's incredible Bigfoot Fast Track's well known as the fastest tank ever built. And indeed, Chandler needs to win this one to go to the final round. Ready for the green flag to signal the start of this incredible side-by-side tank battle. The world's wildest locomotive against the world's fastest tank, with Bob Chandler himself doing the driving of the low-riding Ford twin-engine machine from St. Louis, Missouri.
And once again, remember, they have to land on top of the cars. No part of the track can be off of the cars or they'll be disqualified.
The smoke pouring from the smokestack of the Orange Blossom Special leaves the stack as they head for the first set of cars. Bob Chandler airborne as always in the incredible lowrider Ford tank. Now it looks like Alan Gaines is still having problems being thrown around in the cockpit of the Orange Blossom Special. Chandler hits the second set of crush cars. He's almost halfway around the track before Gaines ever makes it to the second set of cars. And Chandler will bring it around to the finish line as Gaines hits the second set of machines. Chandler lands on top of the final set of cars, and Alan Gaines gets thrown around the cockpit of this incredible train. But there is the winner. Bob Chandler lifts the Ford van body up above the M4 Armored Personnel Carrier chassis and takes the win in this first round of tank action.
And I think the Orange Blossom Express was having some steering trouble there. He had a real hard time negotiating some of those curves earlier.
Well, this is the very first time ever for Alan Gaines of this train. You can hear the actual real-life brass steam whistle going off next to the smokestack there. But as Alan Gaines makes his first ever passes in a tank, let's face it, these things don't have steering wheels. They have two steering handles that are like driving a bulldozer or a tank, and that takes a little bit of getting used to. There's no question about that.
As Bob Chandler tips his hat to the crowd,
Indeed.
They're most appreciative.
Chandler, as always, coming through straight and true for a big, big win here. As we look at the slow-motion replay of Bob Chandler's first hit on the first set of crush cars, watch the suspension on this tank work, especially when it comes down with Chandler inside. It's actually almost a soft ride, Shelley.
If that's a soft ride, I wouldn't want to be in a tough one.
Right. Here's the last jump as Bob Chandler brings it around for the finish to land on top of those cars. Straight and true, steering it like a pro. He brings it up and down for the grand finale. Well, the action keeps getting wilder here at Anaheim Stadium in Anaheim, California, and we will be back with even more wild action from the U.S. Hobbit Association Grand Slam of Motorsports with more monster truck racing to come in just a moment. We're back at the U.S. Hobbit Association Grand Slam of Motorsports at Anaheim Stadium in Anaheim, California for one of the largest mud racing programs ever. 3 full classes of competition led by the modified category. Non-supercharged four-wheel drive machines, including the Blue Fox of Rick Skelton from Long Beach, California. A 388 cubic inch small block Chevrolet powered machine against the Groundhog full-size Chevrolet. This is a 100-foot long mud pit, side-by-side drag racing style action. The big Chevrolet runs into problems immediately as Skelton makes it all the way to the finish line on his very first attempt. Digging in just shy of the finish line, now the Groundhog Chevrolet gets back in the throttle, but he's definitely not going to be anywhere near the finish line. The small block Chevrolet Long Beach Jeep of Rick Skelton, the Blue Fox, will advance to the next round of competition. The ground crew will go out for a measurement since the machine indeed did not make it to the finish line. In fact, a 54 feet 4-inch measurement for the Blue Fox as it digs in just shy of the finish line here at Anaheim. The next pair of machines up will include Jerry Sparling's machine and Dave Woodward in the yellow Submarine. Woodward in the near lane. Here you see Sparling's Jeep. Out of Ontario, California, a 412 cubic inch small block Chevrolet with 1 4-barrel carburetor. But the yellow Submarine of Dave Woodward from Chino, utilizing a 420 cubic inch AMC motor of all things, is recognized as simply one of the best in this category. Always a contender, Woodward moves it up against Sparling, looking for a berth in the semifinal round. The flagman throws the green, and first out is Sparling, but look at Woodward drive around him. Tremendous come from behind run, and the crowd loves every minute of it. The Chino driver obviously thrilled with that one, and I'll tell you, he was looking pretty bad off the starting line. You can see a nice launch for Sparling, trying to keep it straight as he gets a little crossed up halfway down, eventually digging in at the 50-foot marker. But in the meantime, Woodward was on a charge, never lifting for a second in the other lane. A nearly perfect launch. He drops the front end a little bit in the mud, but then manages to keep the front end up high enough to stay out of the ruts created by the first pair. Woodward drives her through the first full pass, an incredible run with Rambler power, 3.79 seconds. The next pair on the starting line will include in the near lane Larry Shive, the Ramona, California veteran, with a 351 cubic inch small block Ford powered Ranger. One of the few Fords campaigning here in the modified or super modified division, actually. The Tough Enough Chevrolet full-size C-cab truck of Scott Lynch leaves the starting line. And we've got a side-by-side battle, but again, the Chevrolet digs in just before the finish line, and the win will go to Shive. A full pass for the small block Ford-powered machine outrunning the Chevrolet. Another nearly perfect launch, not much tire spin whatsoever, managing to keep the front end of a 3,000-pound vehicle up out of the mud. He goes through at 4.67 seconds, and that will advance him. His Chevrolet opponent obviously digging in right at the finish line after gaining a slight hole shot. The Ford machine actually making through without getting real dirty, and that's the objective in this sport, even with a 3,000-pound vehicle. In the meantime, in the other lane, Scott Lynch and the Tough Enough Chevrolet looked like he had a good run going. But as his opponent did in the same lane previously, a 53-foot pole digs in just before the finish line. And that indeed will keep him out of the semifinal round. The last pair of machines in this first round of super modified action will include John Harmon, the Kamikaze Kid himself. Harmon Jr. will take on this man. Bill Gonzalez, the machine he calls Bill's Bantam, an original Willys Jeep from the World War II era. Staged up and ready. Looking for a side-by-side battle, it'll be the white machine of John Harmon Jr. Finally staging up, the flagman now ready to drop the green flagger in the super modified division. RPM's up of the 2 small block equipped machines. The flagman drops the green. They leave the line side by side. A lot of tire spin for Bill Gonzalez in the far lane. He digs in before the finish line, and so does Harmon. Harmon, however, stays in the throttle. He's going to get every inch out of this ride that he possibly can. Steering the front wheels left to right, trying to open up a path, but indeed finally shuts her down. But amazingly, it looks like that little extra effort will be good enough Here we see Gonzalez. He stays with it until it finally sinks in. 59 feet 4 inches the measurement for the bright orange pre-war Willys. While in the other lane, Harmon was doing the same, but staying in the throttle. You can see Harmon leaving the line. Looks like he may have had a problem with the machine, maybe falling out of gear just off the starting line. He stays in the throttle until it finally sinks in. And even though it looks like it's not gaining any real estate on this run, you can see he looks out to make sure that the wheels are gaining some kind of path to try and pick up a few extra inches. He had to beat 59 feet 4 inches as he drills the throttle, just trying to pick up as little footage as he can. He misses out with a 49-foot 9-inch ride through this mud pit. So after the first round of competition, the 4 semifinalists certainly appear to be led by Dave Woodward's Yellow Submarine, a full 3.79-second run. Right behind him, the Wasted Wages entry of Larry Scheib at 4.67, while Bill Gonzalez in the Bills Bantam and Rick Scoutton's Blue Fox failed to make it to the finish line. It definitely will be an interesting contest when we return with the next round of Super Modifieds. In the meantime, we'll be getting ready for the wildest category of U.S. Harvard Association mud racing, the Supercharged Pro Modifieds, coming up. Returning to Anaheim Stadium in Anaheim, California for the U.S. Harvard Association Grand Slam of Motorsports, we get ready for the wildest mud racers in the world, the Supercharged U.S. Harvard Association Pro Modified class. And the driver you're looking at is the defending champion, the lady from Lakewood, Colorado, Wendy Tarman. Her supercharged 454 cubic inch Chevy-powered machine, the Californian, won it all 1 year ago at this event. Will be taking on one of the stronger entries as far as full-bodied trucks go. Jess Carlson out of Banning, California, a 28-year-old driver with a full-size Chevrolet. A 1973 Chevy Blazer will be trying to take out the lady. The Blazer using a 440 cubic inch big block Chevrolet, supercharged, fuel-injected, burning methanol. Both machines unusually relying on fully automatic GM turbo hydro transmissions. Waiting patiently on the line, Carlson, the definite underdog in this matchup. The lady in the wing Jeep waits the signal. The green flag goes, and it's the lady with the hole shot. She gets the finish line first, but it certainly appeared that Carlson's incredible Mudbuster Chevrolet was on a much stronger pass. Wendy Tarman lifts the visor on her helmet. She knew she had a lot of tire spin to contend with off the starting line. As it appeared, she got the hole shot, but this man was on a tremendous ride. The Chevrolet with the front end literally off the ground as he blasts across the finish line. The incredible full-size Chevrolet runs 2.59 seconds, and that was definitely quicker than Wendy Tarman. Remember, regardless of the fact that the lady got to the finish line first, the quicker elapsed time advances to the next round. There you see Wendy bouncing around the cockpit at 2.81 seconds. She is an upset first-round loser. The next pair on the starting line will include one of these single quickest and fastest supercharged mud racers west of the Mississippi. In the near lane is Ron Kirby's incredible pit boss from Fontana, California. Another supercharged, fuel-injected, methanol-burning big block Chevrolet that indeed is capable of putting down a U.S. Harvard Association national record if all goes well. He's up against a true underdog, the full-bodied, supercharged Wild Willies of Steve Kothler. Kirby in the near lane is shooting for the U.S. Harvard Association national ET record of 1.92 seconds for this 100-foot distance. It seems apparent that he's got Kothler already in hand. The green light goes, he lets Kothler go out, but now blasts across the 100-foot line, finish line, 2.09 seconds for Kirby. A tremendous ride. He obviously knew that he had this one in hand strictly on an ET advantage. While Kothler, actually, you have to give him credit for even pulling up to the line against one of the strongest machines in history. Digging in at 62 feet 7 inches, Kirby advances to the semifinal round with one of the quickest runs of the 1989 season. This time around, sitting on the starting line, the executioner of Wayne Schott. A 500 cubic inch aluminum Keith Black Racing Engines prepared Chevrolet, taking on the Jeep called Mudquake. John Harmon from Shower Lake, California, waiting patiently to stage up. Both machines again, supercharged Chevrolet wrap motors, burning methanol, 2,500 horsepower each, trying to be controlled on street legal type Department of Transportation approved tires, no taller than 44 inches high. Here you see Harmon's low-riding Mudquake machine, the blue and white entry, and this incredible ride, the Jeep Funny Car of Wayne Schott. They leave the starting line. Schott on an excellent run, although it looks like Schott actually lost power just before the finish line. Certainly Harmon had his problems in the blue and white machine with a lot of tire spin off the starting line, but it definitely appeared that Wayne Schott did not utilize all the power he had. Here we see Harmon on the replay. Let's see if we can spot the tire spin that slowed him down. Oh yeah, 15-foot high rooster tails of mud off all 4 tires before he finally gets it in the pit. The front end definitely comes up out of the mud, but very late. The elapsed time, 3.44 seconds for the Mudquake machine. In the meantime, the executioner of Wayne Schott was sailing. An excellent run that'll get him into the semifinals. Not much tire spin. Look at the front end. It never goes down in the mud. 2.42 seconds. Schott blasts through in the executioner, spinning it out at the top end to the delight of the crowd. A great ride. If you're a funny car fan, I think you'll agree we've never seen a better-looking off-road flopper than Guy Smith's Cal City Hustler. A 1989 Corvette, a supercharged fuel-injected methanol-burning Rodec aluminum Chevrolet power plant. He'll be up against Tom Etheridge in the top dog, one of the most unusual rides at this event. The Jeep, you see, uses a supercharged fuel-injected Chevrolet, but it's a small block Chevrolet. Etheridge out of Fresno relies on only 364 cubic inches of small block Chevy in this wild wing Jeep funny car. The Cal City Hustler, a brand new ride in the other lane, has never been through the mud. A lot of teams, let alone spectators, are waiting to see what the new Corvette does against Etheridge's proven small block. The flag goes down. The Corvette out in front, getting a little sideways. The small block Chevy almost running him down. We'll have to wait to see the elapsed times on these 2 runs. It was that close at the finish line. A tremendous battle between 2 completely different approaches to pro-modified mud racing here at Anaheim. Let's watch the small block Jeep as he leaves the starting line beautifully. Very little tire spin. Look at the front wheel speed. Completely out of the mud for the entire pit. The elapsed time for Etheridge in the small block, 2.53 seconds. That is 0.03 of a second quicker than the Cal City Hustler Corvette funny car, and good enough for a semifinal berth. Looking at the Corvette from a head-on view, a strong hit at about 3/4 track. That probably slowed him to that 256 and put him out of contention by 0.03 of a second. Still an incredible new ride. Guy Smith's Cal City Hustler supercharged Corvette mud funny car. So after the first round, Ron Kirby's Fontana, California-based pit boss leads this field by almost a full 0.4 of a second, 2.09 seconds. The executioner of Wayne Schott at 2:42. The top dog entry, always tough, Tom Etheridge's small block at 2:53, and Jess Carlson's Mudbuster Chevy machine at 2.59 seconds. Coming up, though, we've got the wilder class in the mud racing category, the unlimited machines, coming up next. Stay tuned. We're back at Anaheim Stadium in Anaheim, California. The United States Hot Rod Association Grand Slam of Motorsports continues with championship mud racing in the unlimited category. While these machines may not be as quick or fast as the pro-modified supercharged entries, anything goes in this particular division. You'll see some of the heaviest but most visually astounding machines in all of mud racing here in the unlimited division. Case in point, the very first pair of machines up includes Larry Harrison and Terry Woodcock. Woodcock driving the Wild Thing entry. How about a 1964 Ford Galaxy for Larry Harrison and the Troublemaker? The 64 Galaxy gets to the finish line way ahead of Harrison. But elapsed time, remember, is what advances a driver to the semifinal round. The big Galaxy really churning. 55-inch tall tires. Look at this starting line launch. Over 7,000 pounds of 64 Ford with Ford wedge power underneath. And by the way, that is an original aluminum factory-produced drag racing style body from 1964. 3.31 seconds for the incredible Ford of Woodcock. In the meantime, Larry Harrison in the Troublemaker runs into a lot of problems with the left side berm. The tires grinding in to a 3.46 second time. That will send the Ford Galaxy to the semifinal round as the Wild Thing comes to a halt past the finish line. As we pointed out, the heaviest machines in mud racing. These 2 machines will give you a classic example of that. On the starting line, it's the Psycho Chevrolet of Tony Elkins. Elkins, always a campaigner on the West Coast with the Unlimited Chevrolet against Paul Carfusi. Carfusi at the wheel of the Goldbricker, a Ford-powered, fuel-injected wedge motor in this huge Ford F-body truck. Side by side again down to the finish line, but it looks like Carfusi runs into problems with the Goldbricker Ford digging in just before the finish line. As opposed to the pro-modified or super-modified machines, these trucks, because of their weight, will drop right down to the bottom of the mud pit almost instantly. It's sheer power that takes them through the pit, as opposed to horsepower making them skim over the top. The Psycho Chevrolet at 3.99 seconds will advance. As you can see, the Goldbricker Ford digs in almost immediately right down to the bottom of the pit, and then a slam against the berm or side of the mud pit slows the Goldbricker to 4.28 seconds. The big Chevrolet of Tony Elkins will advance to the semi-final round. How about a 1981 Chevy Camaro on 58-inch tall tires? The supercharged, fuel-injected Chevrolet called Sudden Impact of John Gallardi leaves the starting line and runs into problems in and out of the throttle. He makes it up and over the finish line. Now his opponent, Tony Loza, in the Frantic Falcon, a Ford Falcon, believe it or not, did not leave the starting line anywhere near on time. He will still, however, get a shot at the clocks, as the Camaro pilot, thumbs up, is happy, obviously, with his 3.78 second ride. We're still waiting for Tony Loza and the Sudden Impact to leave the line. There he is. And the starter will give him another flag to start the General Tire machine. He's got to beat 3.99 seconds. The Ford wedge-powered 1966 Falcon Sprint goes through at 3.15 seconds. And indeed, that'll be good enough to get him into the semifinal past the Camaro. The Falcon actually doing a fair job of staying up on the mud until about three-quarter track. Again, a little shimmy over towards the berm or the side of the mud pit. But Loza brings it out in 3.15 seconds to get a semifinal round berth. It looked like the big problem for John Gallardi in the Camaro was where he was forced to get onto the throttle right there. He gets back in it, lifts the front end out of the mud, but his 378 was easy game for the classic 66 Ford Falcon. Good-looking Chevrolet covered with slime heads back for the pits. The final pair in this first round of the Unlimited category will feature the brute force truck of Steve Rulke, generally acknowledged as the quickest and fastest Unlimited truck on the West Coast. He'll be up against Jim Dara, a 1969 Ford Mustang. Again, some of the wildest vehicles in mud racing here in the Unlimited division. The Ford wedge-powered Mustang leaves the line first, but look at the incredible brute force truck drive around him. No question, the extended wheelbase machine got to the finish line first and certainly recorded a quicker elapsed time. Rulke's brute force machine, always a killer. Leaving the starting line, the Ford looked good. In fact, it really didn't sink to the bottom until well down track, but hitting that rut certainly slowed the Ford from what appeared to be a pretty decent pace. The Mustang, up out of the pit, records a 3.05 second run, and indeed, that was easy prey for Steve Rulke in the other lane. The brute force machine leaving probably more violent than any other Unlimited category ride. Wheels out of the pit completely across the finish line. How about a 2.72 second ride into the semifinal round for Rulke's brute force? An incredible battle shaping up, but we'll be back with the semifinals and finals of Mud Championship action from Anaheim, California. The semi-final showdown for the supercharged Pro Modifieds at Anaheim, California will feature the top dog small block Chevrolet in the far lane of Tom Etheridge taking on Ron Kirby's all-conquering pit boss. We saw Kirby go 209 on this 100-foot long pit in the first round. Here's the man in the small block trying to upset this rat-motored Chevy-powered machine. They leave the line, and it's Kirby in an incredible charge, just barely nipping Etheridge in the small block. You could see Kirby leave the starting line second, but still driving around the small block at 2.37 seconds to go to the final round. A pretty violent finish line ride for Kirby, the veteran Californian in the supercharged 500 cubic inch Chevrolet. The small block was right with him in the other lane. Etheridge doing everything he could to stay in the hunt, just getting nipped in 2.53 seconds and coming airborne across the finish line in a losing effort, taking a wild bounce down through the shutdown area. So Ron Kirby's top dog goes to the final round. The small block underdog is out of the picture, and Kirby will take on the winner of this battle. In the far lane, Jess Carlson's Mudbuster, the only full-size machine in this category, takes on the executioner of Wayne Schott, and problems almost immediately for both cars. This is incredible. Carlson leaves the starting line first in the truck. He's just wrapping the throttle, trying to get to the finish line first. There you see Wayne Schott in the executioner, finally shutting down. What an incredibly bizarre semifinal run between two of the quickest and fastest machines in this category. Carlson leaves the starting line first. That was obvious, but no rear-wheel drive. Look at the rear wheels. He was receiving no power to the back end of this machine. He knows that something is radically wrong, just wrapping the throttle to try and get as much distance out of this run as possible. At this point, I don't think he even realized, finally looking over and seeing that Wayne Schott had more than problems off the starting line. In fact, look at the rear wheels. It's the exact same problem that Carlson was going through. No power to the rear wheels whatsoever. Here you see Schott also hitting the throttle, looking over. He sees that it's a race, I guess you could say. But at this point, both of them can only hope that the front-wheel drive will pull them farther than their opponents. Finally, Schott says, I've had enough. It's going to be interesting to see who can repair to come back for the final round against Kirby. Now the semifinal round of the unlimited category. In the near lane, the incredible extended cab entry of Steve Ruhlke against the frantic Falcon of Tony Loza. They leave the starting line, but again, the brute force truck just reels in his opponent. After a 2-second elapsed time in the first round, it's going to be incredible if anybody can get around that extended bodied truck. An amazing ride. Ruhlke will advance to the final easily. On the replay, you can see the weight transfer on this truck is so good. The front wheels stay up on the pit for almost the entire ride. 2.79 seconds, 7/100ths of a second slower than his first round battle. Still incredibly consistent. Ruhlke goes to the final round as the Falcon in the other lane was busy chugging along well behind. Loza gave it everything he could. A lot of tire spin off the starting line, and for that matter, not the straightest of angles going to the finish line. He'll take it on through at 3.75 seconds. It was nowhere near enough for Loza to get around Ruhlke's extended cab truck. Finally out of the pit, Loza goes back home. The Mustang of Jim Dara in the near lane will take on the incredible 1964 Ford Galaxy of Larry Harrison, the troublemaker in an all-Ford final, to see who will take on Steve Ruhlke's brute force in the unlimited trophy dash. A pair of 6,000-pound vehicles on the starting line. They leave the line, and it's an obvious advantage for the Galaxy. Actually, a tremendously close race between these two drivers. The troublemaker machine looked like it may have had an advantage both in elapsed time and reaction time, while Mustang of Dara took it through about a half a car length behind the Galaxy. Looking at Harrison's run at 3.22 seconds, you can see that he too had to drive around several different ruts just to get it to the finish line area. The question was a 3.22 second run good enough to outrun Jim Dara's Mustang? As we look at the slow motion replay, the ET comes up, and it was good enough. Dara slides through at 3.37 seconds, just behind the Galaxy, and that will send Harrison's troublemaker to the final round against Ruhlke's brute force. That 6,000-pound Mustang airborne at the finish line of this 100-foot-long pit. A wild, wild ride in a losing effort. That will bring us to the championship dash, the final round for the Super Modifieds. In the near lane, Dave Woodward's Yellow Submarine, the class of this field, all through eliminations, takes on Scott Lynch's full-size Tough Enough Chevy, who made this final as an alternate when Rick Scoutton's Blue Fox Jeep could not make repairs in time for the championship dash. Lynch will have to pull off the ultimate upset if he wants to get around the toughest driver in the Super Mod class, this driver. They leave the starting line, and obviously obviously the Yellow Submarine gets a little sideways, but drives away from Scott Lynch in convincing fashion. And once again, Woodward takes the Yellow Submarine to a super modified class championship. The man is virtually unbeatable on the West Coast in the non-supercharged category. He took kind of a wild ride down around three-quarter track. We see a lot of tire spin as he leaves the starting line, as this sloppy track is going to take the best of driving ability just to leave the line. Look at this wild ride, though, as the machine almost goes over on its left side. Woodward straightens her out, brings her out of the pit for another championship victory at 3.67 seconds. Woodward still unbeatable on West Coast competition. The final round of the unlimited machines inches forward to the line. If anybody can beat this truck, it will be a minor miracle. 272 and 279 in his first and second round wins. Larry Harrison in the Troublemaker Galaxy tries to get off the line first, but look at Rulke just eat the Galaxy alive. Rulke with a big smile on his face. You can see that through the helmet. Whips her around to the delight of the crowd, as Lynn Harrison knows, if nothing else, that with his 7,000-pound Ford, he gave it everything he had. A tremendous run for the Unlimited Class champion. Watch this replay, as even on a slippery track, he manages to bring the front wheels up out of the pit to start, and indeed drives her full throttle down without ever experiencing a problem. After a 272 and a 279, he goes 275 in this championship winning round. An amazing display of consistency and, as he puts it, brute force. Now, the supercharged pro-modified final is on the line. Tom Etheridge in the top dog has been brought back as an alternate in the far lane. None of the other semifinalists can return, but Ron Kirby and the pit boss will take him on again if he has to. You saw these two meet in the semis. They leave the line, a lot of tire spin, and a tremendously close battle. Even with the sloppy track, these two drivers side by side all the way through. Kirby looking around to see if he won it. His crew says he did. Etheridge, the driver of the small block Chevrolet powered machine with the fire equipment on, thinks he won it. We're going to have to wait for the elapsed time to determine a victor in this championship battle. The track extremely sloppy on the starting line. You can see that in the tire spin as Kirby leaves the line. And Kirby has been given the victory. His elapsed time, 2.68 seconds. Etheridge goes through at 2:85. By less than 0.2 of a second, an incredibly close battle after Etheridge got the whole shot. Kirby and the Scotty's Automotive Jeep Funny Car takes the victory. We've got monster truck finals coming up as well, so don't go away. U.S. Harmon Association action continues in a moment. We're back at Anaheim Stadium in Anaheim, California for the final run in the Battle of the Monster Trucks here at the U.S. Harmon Association Grand Slam of Motorsports. I'm Brent Kepner, and along with Shelley Herman, this is going to be a crowd pleaser. Bob Chandler in the far lane in the Bigfoot Fast Tracks lowrider Ford Van Tank against his first final of the year. Young Jeff Boehner in the Shore Wheelbase Wild Inlet four-wheeler called Hot Stuff, the big red Jeep, Shelley.
He might be a young guy, but the two of them both have a lot of experience, but it's two different machines. Two different conditions on the field. Let's see how it goes.
Bob Chandler signals that he's ready, and the green flag comes up. They move to the first set of crush cars. The winner takes the overall championship. Boehner almost goes over the Hot Stuff Jeep. He gets back in the throttle. Incredibly enough, he's going to make a race of it. Bob Chandler clears the second set of crush cars as Boehner keeps driving after that incredible landing. Another wild ride for the Hot Stuff, but Bob Chandler brings it around the turn to land on the final set of cars and take the victory. Jeff Boehner hits his final set of cars. But what a driving job for the youngster from Washington. Look at that kid.
Oh, it really knocked him around. I thought that thing was going to tip.
Unbelievable driving job. The crowd giving him a standing ovation for the driving he did against Bob Chandler in the Bigfoot Fast Tracks tank. Well, what can you say about this man? From St. Louis, Missouri, the originator of the monster truck phenomenon, takes yet another U.S. Harmon Association National Championship event victory here at the Grand Slam of Motorsports. Still an incredible driver, Shelley. Bob Bob Chandler moving in on his very first hit here in this final championship round of monster tank versus monster truck. Look at this thing sideways in the air. Chandler thrown almost into the windshield. Just about as rough a ride as Jeff Baintner was going through on the other side of the track. Watch this incredible job of keeping this short wheelbase squirrely monster Jeep upright. Baintner airborne, lands, and then nosedives over to the side. Baintner still steering the machine, nails the throttle, and that's what saved him from disaster. He hits the crush cars that were bordering the side of the track, regains his bearings, and then gets back in the throttle to give Bob Chandler a run for the money. Absolutely incredible effort for the Yakima, Washington youngster. Well, once again, the brand new Bigfoot Fast Tracks of Bob Chandler has proven to be one of the most incredible machines anybody's ever built. And Bob, that machine still performs flawlessly.
It worked good today. I had a little problem yesterday, but today everything seems to work fine.
The machine still, with that suspension underneath the track, seems to give it an edge over every other vehicle.
Yeah, the torsion bars really help it. The guy can get on it hard. Today was probably the hardest I've ever landed with this thing, but it's still not that bad.
Well, you took a hard-fought victory over this man, Jeff Baintner. And Jeff, you took one of the wildest rides we've seen in a good long time trying to beat this man.
Yeah, well, we went all out, and that was probably the closest I've ever come to tipping over.
Unbelievable. Bob, you yourself were pretty crossed up in the air in that final run. Let's take a look at the footage here, and you can tell us what you were going through.
Okay. This, I knew I had a hard run here with Jeff. He'd run all day long real hard, so I really give it a lot of throttle. And I came down on the left corner. It really hit hard. I thought I might have broke something.
Like your neck.
My neck. Yeah, I'll probably learn that tomorrow. I'll be sore. But I was worried about Jeff coming around. I had a long track this time, so.
Well, in the other lane, Jeff, you were going through this incredible ride.
Yeah, I think it launched a little bit sideways there, and I had so much forward momentum. I was just trying to get the wheel speed back up to pull me out of what I knew was going to happen when we landed. And that was just borderline of going over. It was real close.
Well, right there you hit the throttle, and that's pretty much what saved it from going over.
Yeah, then I ended up running over some cars that weren't even in the course, but the motor was still going. I thought I might have a chance, so we stayed in at the rest of the race.
You made it an incredibly close battle, and both you gentlemen deserve to be commended on your tremendous championship spirit. Bob, best of luck throughout this season. I know it's going to be tough with a lot of new vehicles coming up, but you did it for the Ford fans again.
Thank you very much.
And this guy, I think we're going to be hearing an awful lot about. Jeff, it's been a long time since you've been in a national event final round against this guy, but you have a brand new machine coming out, right?
Yes, should have it going in the next week or two and get the bugs worked out of it, and we'll be driving two of them. My girlfriend will be driving the other one, and I hope we stay busy.
So a male and female team should be pretty interesting. And indeed, Jeff Baintner and, of course, Bob Chandler will be back at more U.S. Auburn Association of events. Right now, we'll be back at Anaheim Stadium in just a moment. Well, I don't think anybody would argue that this has to be one of the most unusual U.S. Auburn Association National Championship events ever. Breakage has taken its toll both in the monster truck racing and in the mud racing championships. In fact, Shelley, we had a hard time finding out who was going to be able to come back for the next round of mud racing.
We had scorecards, and we were having a difficult time keeping track of what was going on, but what a great day of racing for everyone concerned. We got some veterans, we got some new kids on the block, an exciting day.
No question about it. And with Ron Kirby's incredible win in the supercharged, super modified mud racing class with a 2.09 second run, the quickest ever here at Anaheim Stadium, and Steve Roelke's tremendous win in the unlimited tractor tire class. They both had tremendously hard-fought victories. But what can you say about Bob Chandler? He may not drive very much anymore, but he's still awfully hard to beat with fast tracks.
I'm going to see if I can talk him into getting me through some of this stadium traffic so I can get home tonight.
Well, the band is still awesome, but indeed, we've got plenty more awesome activities coming up on the U.S. Auburn Association Championship Mud Racing and Monster Truck Trail. Until then, this is Brett Kepner and Shelley Herman. I certainly hope to see you again on the U.S. Auburn Association Championship National Event Tour. See you then.